You are now tuned into the sounds of Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode number 414 of the podcast. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. In this episode, we're recapping the Baltimore Ravens win Thursday night against the Cincinnati Bengals to start off Week 10. But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. Episode 413, that was the Maryland Women's Basketball Week 3, Week 4 preview. That video has been recorded. That video, along with this one, 415, the Washington Commanders, that will go up tomorrow. Then Maryland football, men's basketball as well, that will go up sometime later this week. Continue to please like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. Again, thank you for the support you've given me, this channel. I do want to give a quick update. So we have made some cosmetic changes to the podcast. So if you see some different music, different sounds, we've definitely made some upgrades. We're trying to get all some things back, everything up to date on Spotify and Apple Music, Apple Podcasts. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We're going to start having that also back on the descriptions as well soon. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into it. Coming off a very, very interesting week, the Ravens had a quick turnaround from Sunday and had to get it right and had to face the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday night. And it was a Thursday night thriller. The Baltimore Ravens defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 35-34.
Game over, yeah!
On the Cincinnati side, I really think when you look at Cincinnati, and I think, okay, I think Cincinnati's a good team. I think one of the nails in the coffins for them, I think they were aggressive all game. When I look back at the tape, they were aggressive. I knew coming into this game, especially coming off the loss in overtime in Cincy, I knew they were out for blood. But in the second half, I thought some of those being too aggressive, I thought I thought that kind of did hurt them. At one point, Baltimore was down 14 early in the fourth quarter. Why would you go for it on a 4th and 2 instead of a 51-yard field goal? I get it. Evan McPherson's missed 50. He's missed 3 50-yard field goals. I'm not going to put that all on him. I think it's been a little bit of the holder example in the overtime game against us. But sure. The deep pass to Jermaine Burton, that was incomplete, and then we took the lead in our first drive. On that next drive, we took our first lead. After that, Cincinnati never took the lead. We traded blows back and forth. We both scored 2 touchdowns apiece. We were moving the ball right along. I'm gonna get into the last potential play of the game, but I also too thought what also hurt them was they really they're not a good defensive team. I could count how many times they were horrendous at tackling. I mean, yeah, okay, they did a good job in containing Derrick Henry. 68 yards, he did have a touchdown, 16 carries. But I mean, I'm talking about making tackles on receivers. I mean, out of the 10 longest plays, 9 of them were for short passes, and they went, if I believe correctly, it was 11 or more yards when looking back at the tape. None of them, outside of the 84-yard touchdown by Tylan Wallace, where Cam Taylor-Britt, Logan Wilson, and Geno Stone, all 3 missed tackles. You can't defend that.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
It's funny because he had a chance. Cam Taylor-Britt had a chance to tackle him. I think it was at the 22, but he just at one point I think he stepped out of bounds, but he stayed in bounds. Geno Stone missed him at the 50. And then Logan Wilson tried to push him out of bounds at the 10-yard. Cam Taylor-Britt tried talking about the 22. I don't know. It just looked weird. I just felt like they really did a bad job tackling. Outside of Lamar, the defensive line did a horrendous job in creating pressure. He wasn't even sacked. He didn't even take a sack. I mean, well, I'll take it back. He did get a quarterback hit. Joseph Osai was the only defensive end who had a quarterback hit.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
He didn't even try.
So I mean, I don't know. I just felt like a lot of it was left out there, missed tackles. I mean, but in fairness, also too, outside of Jamar Chase, he cooked our secondary. I'm just gonna leave it at that. We got burnt like toast. Chase Brown, he had a good game, but the other issue too was the offense. I think if you look at Chase Brown's fumble in the third quarter, I think that's where the mistakes started to happen. There were 3 straight possessions where they scored any points. Fumble, the punt, and the turnover on downs. He did everything. I don't know. Again, I know they had injuries. My guy Zeus Jr., Orlando Brown Jr. was out due to injury. I mean, Nadimana Bike, he had 3 sacks. Who's had 2 sacks through his first 9 games of the season. There was an APB out on him. I mean, he had 13 quarterback hits. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like this was just Cincinnati just doing too much, and I think that it's interesting, the national media when and it's rightfully fair to criticize when the Baltimore Ravens come fourth quarter failing to finish games. Well, here's an example of Cincinnati. They're failing to finish games, and the same thing. You kind of use the example, like the Chiefs, the Commanders. It's those things are all self-inflicted. I mean, if they've made losing plays with the game on the line. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say on that. I mean, at this point, I really think their season is over. I cannot see them making the playoffs. I can't. I mean, If they do, it'll be by the skin of their teeth. But from what I saw, I mean, from the first half, their defense looked good, and then their defense just looked different in the second half. Offense again, they certainly didn't help them with fumbles, field conversions. I mean, outside Jamar Chase, and that was in Joe Burrow. That was it. The rest of his offense was everybody else was non-existent. Now, the last play with Mike Gesicki, the 2-point conversion, personally, I would have taken the field goal personally, and I'm gonna say why. Because going into overtime, I understand not trusting your defense, but you have a chance, depending whether it was heads or tails, you could have gotten the ball first. And then also too, I kind of knew something was up because, okay, so they had the play drawn up. Brandon Stevens on Jamar Chase. They had him isolated. Then they call a timeout. Then a timeout was called. Then they do the same thing, isolate him, and there was a lot that happened in that sequence. And it went to, I believe it was Tanner Hudson. I just think he should just took the extra point and went to overtime and just took the point and just risked it. Because to me, now look, that's another missed opportunity. I think being aggressive at times, that does come back to bite you in the butt. So, and it showed. But congratulations to Jamar Chase, because he definitely made history. Because you have not seen that, I want to say, since the great Jerry Rice, and rightfully so. It just happened to be against us, because our secondary had no answer. It does not matter. And everybody, I don't care if it was, does not matter. Everybody, Sun secondary, had a bad game against Jamar Chase. I mean, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns on 11 catches, and 2 of them were for 67 yards or more, especially on the first play of those drives. I can't
defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
So, in the first time we saw the Bengals, 192 yards and 2 touchdowns, if I remember correctly. So yeah. Second player, I believe, yeah. I know it's something like, especially in the 2 games combined. I know he has something with there with Jerry Rice, but I also remember seeing another stat somewhere, where he's like, I think with the most 60-yard touchdowns since 21, I think, but not with 12. I think Tyreek has 9, if I remember correctly, seeing that stat correctly somewhere. But congratulations, yeah. Jamar Chase, yeah. He's a great receiver. I knew he's a great player coming out of LSU, but that was something. That was definitely something to see. But for the Ravens side, let's oh boy, okay, where do I begin? So Kyle Hamilton, it's been clear. I really wanted to wait until I heard from what Coach said as of yesterday, his media availability. His injury, Kyle Hamilton's injury, was not serious, and that was good. We leaned more on, especially Darius Washington was in the game. We did pretty well. I was a little concerned because without contact, I'm thinking like, oh gosh, and he limped up off the field. It was just a serious. It was a sprained ankle, nothing serious. But Kyle Hamilton is the glue that's holding this ship. You call it this ship. It's not that, you know what I mean. This thing you call a defense together, and It's something. So that is something that's positive, I can say. This pass rush, this pass defense is. I listen, John. You cannot fix this. You can't. Now, it's something to say about this, and the great Mike Tomlin had pointed this out. I think this was fair to say. I saw this, and if you, even though we're 32nd against the pass, that's a little minuscule because if you pay attention, teams are actually throwing the ball more against us than running. We're actually 25th in points allowed. We're giving up 25, but we have to find a way to actually slow the game down. Outside of that, in the top 25, the next is Cincy, Jacksonville, 24, New Orleans, Seattle. I'll give you from Atlanta, Cleveland, Los Angeles, Seattle, New Orleans, and then us. I mean, the next team that under 20 points is Buffalo, and they're number 9. So I think I don't know. I just think that we got to figure it out. I know he really talked about he wanted to fix the intermediate middle and deep middle of the field. We've been very consistent. I mean, everybody looking back at the tape, it does not matter if you're Marcus Williams, it doesn't matter if you're Darius Washington. Everybody just looked bad. Brandon Stevens would have had an interception because he actually, ladies and gentlemen, he actually turned his head for the first time. I was actually really proud of that. I'm not being funny when I say that. I thought he really had his first interception. I think he had an interception in the game, but it got taken back. But I mean, I just don't know how you can fix it. I mean, we talked about the Jamar Chase thing, the game, but there's just no answers. I mean, again, in fairness, we did, create problems with Joe Burrow, and I will give us that. I mean, that is a positive. We did all those things, but again, linebackers are, Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, they're not covering the middle of the field in short and intermediate ranges. The safeties and the corners, I don't know what they're doing. And even looking back on the tape, it's showing that. And especially you look at we're attacking, and teams are attacking that. We're 10 games into the season. I shouldn't have to hear John on a Monday afternoon talking about, we got to fix this. This should have been fixed. I mean, we had a mini bye week, and that's great, but no. I mean, again, I just think that in my opinion, the real reason why I think this defense has struggled, a couple things, especially that defense last year with Mike McDonald was, I think, had set the standard. I just feel like, again, when he left, you bring in Zach Orr, okay? Zach Orr, he was a former linebacker, started his coaching career. He was as defensive analysis for back in 2017. Then he became a linebackers coach in Jacksonville. Then he was here, linebackers coach from 22 to 23. Like, again, and then the majority of the coordinators from last year are all gone. So, I mean, I think there's some regression. I think also, too, it's schematics. And again, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I just don't think he should not have been given Zach Orr should not have been given the position. I'm sorry. That's just being honest, because I mean, let me give you some stats. We've given up 22 passing touchdowns. That's the most in the league. An opponent's passer rating of 102. That's the sixth worst in the NFL. The NFL's third most points at 253, almost 6 yards per play. They're tied with the New York Jimmy and the New England Patriots.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
What was that? What the hell was that? This is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And I'm sorry. I know we're playing the zone defense, but that is it's atrocious because we're not. I don't see what we're doing. Again, zone defense is all about communication and being in sync. Like that's what made it last year so memorable to watch. And you're just sitting there going like, well, what's different from last year to this year? It's practically the same defense, minus Patrick Queen, Geno Stone, Calais Campbell. Nothing's changed. And I'm sitting here like, what is it? I mean, I would say the only thing I would say fundamentally, the basic thing is when you're zone defense, you have to keep the ball inside, and especially when you have to keep the ball in front of you. That's run defense. And I when you look at the tape in the Cincy game, that does not reflect any of that. I've seen a couple YouTube channels help me out. I know we've run a couple cover twos. I've seen a couple cover fours. I think we run a couple cover threes. It just looks it looks just weird overall. I think last year Mike had a better he knew how to handle how each guy could communicate in zone coverage. Now, respectfully, again, when you look at the 70-yard touchdown, that was a cover 4 defense. How everybody got lost on a simple, I think it was a simple 3-on-3 concept. That can't happen. I'm sorry. That's atrocious. And the scary part is we're 10 weeks into the season, and my concern is the Baltimore Ravens can't, offensively, there are going to be games, and we're going into the home stretch. We got 7 games left. There's going to be some, possibly, we can't score 30, 35, 40 points. We might only get 17, might get 20, 23. This defense and Zach Orr, they're going to have to figure it out, because the time is short, and I'm telling you, I'm in the air when it comes with this, because I'm was not sold on it from the jump. I never believed. After the first 5 weeks, I knew this was not going to get better, and I don't see what Tre'Davious White is doing for this defense. No disrespect, and he's made it clear that John made it clear in the media availability he's not putting Brandon Stevens at safety, but. And then we're talking about moving off Marcus Williams, I understand, but if we cut him, his debt cap, that hurts your salary for next season. I'm sorry, I'm not taking that risk. That's just me. I'm sorry. I just really think it's just I have to look at schematics. Personally, that's just me. I mean, there's other positives I could say. Marlon Humphrey, he looked good out there. I know he was not there. He's coming back. Coming off the injury, he looked good. He made. We needed a big play. He made it. He forced the Chase Brown fumble. They did the same thing in the game against Saints the first time. He had the late interception that gave us the game winning the game time field goal to send us into overtime. So I just think that again, there's positives. The pass rush has improved, yes, but again, Atlanta, that's some injuries to the offensive line, but this defense, in terms of secondary. Now, Marlon Humphrey said it in the post practice. He's saying that they're executing in practice. Okay, so why is it not transitioning into the games? That don't make sense. You practice how you play. That's what I was taught, and that don't sound right to me. Something's fishy about that. But also outside of that, we had 102 yards in the first half. That's the lowest total over the last two seasons, painfully, of the game. When I look back at the tape, my eyes were lying.
Bullshit.
Derrick Henry had a touchdown so far in every game this season. Oh, our 42 game streak of at least 100 yards was one game short from 18 to 21 was ended when Lamar took a knee and we finished the game with 99 yards.
What? And you got to be kidding me.
So, yeah, that happened. Yeah. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, like this offense, again, it can't make mistakes. And that's sad because your defense, your defense is liability. I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole MVP conversation because I think for me, from all the discourse, I've logged off social media. I'm staying off TV and all that stuff because the discourse I've heard recently about MVP and stuff, I'm not even going to get into that. I'm not giving it any energy because if you're watching the games, you're watching the games. I'm just going to leave it at that. But I mean, Lamar finished with the best QBR, 25 of 33, 294 touchdowns. I mean, we barely came out of there with a win. 24 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in the first 10 games. I mean, I don't know what more you want the man to do, but it's not just him. I mean, Mark Andrews. I mean, this man, Mark Andrews, has been through a lot. He helped a woman on a plane with a medical emergency. He was involved in an accident. He's coming off an injury from last year. Last 12 months have been interesting for him. And look at him. He's looking like the Mark Andrews we've known. Rashard Bateman. Everybody as of last year was like, we need to trade this mofo. Blah, 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 blah. Rashard Bateman's looking like the first round pick that we expected him to be. Zay Flowers is our now evolved number one wide receiver. Tylan Wallace, I'm glad to see he's now involved in the offense. Nelson Aguilar, I'm glad to see him in there. I'm a little disappointed. I still know he's only been here with us for a couple weeks, but Deontay Johnson will get in the offense at some point. Keaton Mitchell was back out there. He's coming off the pup list. He got a couple snaps. I know he's getting his legs are still fresh. Expect him to kind of get more involved as the season progresses. But they're doing all the right things. I just something's got to change. I hope this mini bye week helped something, because I would really, really hope that this bye week fixed something, because I get it why John would say no, he wouldn't play. I mean, but when Brandon Stevens was at SMU, he played 11 games at safety. I mean, he's been in a good corner, but I mean, okay. I'm just gonna keep betting a dead horse with that. But outside of that, I mean, at this point, it's Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh painfully beat Washington, and it's really. I mean, we own the tiebreaker. So again, next time we see Pittsburgh on the 17th, that's our first matchup, because that determines who is first place in the division. And as of right now, Pittsburgh is right now in first. So Lamar, painfully, we have not played well against Pittsburgh. Not on all Lamar. He has the worst passer rating. I think it was somewhere around 67. That's among the lowest of any team. I could not believe that stat when I saw that.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say.
But outside of that, and also too, the Steelers have beaten the Ravens 7 out of the last 8 times we have seen them.
I mean, damn!
These are legitimate questions. I don't have answers. I'm starving for answers. I'm starving for them because I don't have them. I'm so disgusted because I got to be out there at that game this Saturday. I got to see this. Inquiring minds want to know why. I truly do want to know why.
And I really want to actually give Mike Tomlin and this is why I think he's and I've actually, as I've gotten older, have grown more fond of him and respect him as a coach, because he talked about our defense, and he said, and I quote, "When I turn on the tape, I don't see negligence. I see a group that's defensively up on people, and a lot of people are getting out of their personalities and are simply somewhat one-dimensional. That's probably the most significant reason why they're 32nd in the league." I don't think that's a shot, but again, he's not wrong. But again, he just, yeah. I don't know. So let's get into one final thought, because the more I talk about the Ravens, the more I'm going to lose my mind.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
Okay, so I'm going to. This is not related to the Ravens. This is more of a NFL quarterback issue. I'm going to address this, and this is the last time I'm going to address this until next year's offseason with the draft. The NFL, but it's not really the league. It's more of the media. And today on with some of the media, like again when it comes with Caleb Williams. Some of y'all actually just proving my point. First and foremost, okay, let me say this. We really need to stop throwing around the word generational. We throw that word around too loosely. I think Caleb is going to be a good player in this league for years to come. Not taking anything away from him. But putting I first and foremost, I think Ryan Poles and ownership salvated just, I think the grass is not always greener on the other side. Let me say it like that. I'm going to say this. I'm not in Chicago. But I can, in my opinion, I'm staying by this. I know some may disagree with this, but what I'm seeing right now, what I've seen through highlights and through, what happened when I can see games through other sites, Justin Fields wasn't the problem. They fired the offensive coordinator. That's not fixing anything. I mean, you put this. You didn't bring Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift to be these guys to be they're to win now. I mean, the offensive line is not good. I mean, my issue is that this is an issue that goes beyond Caleb. They failed Mitch Trubisky, and scapegoated him. They steamrolled Justin, and they did the same thing once he got to Pittsburgh. Now they're going to do the same thing to Caleb. At some point, we're really going to have to start holding these front offices, because who is responsible for putting these teams together? When you look at the Giants, they're talking about moving on from Daniel Jones. The team is not good. Outside of Malik Neighbors, maybe Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, who else changes the game? That'd be Devin Singletary. He's all right. Tyrone Tracy, Their offensive line is not good. Their defense is, it's okay. Look at the Panthers. I mean, like, who is responsible for putting these trash-ass teams together? But we don't look at that. But instead, we always have looked at the quarterback instead of saying, well, we don't do – we kind of do the service. Well, Caleb, yeah, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes and blah, 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 blah. Y'all should have known that. Because really, if you ask me, you could have traded down. You could have gotten some help, another playmaker. You could have kept Justin. You could have buffed your offensive line. I think the Bears would have been fine. That's just my opinion. We can agree to disagree. But I don't think this fixes their season. I don't. But because from what I saw on TV, it just proves my point that no matter what, quarterbacks are always going to find a way to get scapegoated, and it goes beyond quarterbacks. These organizations do a disservice, and they're not truly held accountable, and it's sad. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. But you'll see what I mean as season progresses. But y'all like, comment, subscribe. We out of here. Peace. Stay up.
I'm elevated, oh yeah. We was waiting, oh yeah. To make a statement, it's clear. The way them boys persevere. Yo, we taking the stairs. Don't let them get in our air. They go watch, I'ma stare. Tell them pull up a chair. God gon' answer our prayers. Living now. They told me dreams come true once you live it out. I picked the pieces from my childhood in a broken house. And heal my soul from the trauma we've been giving out. I hear the whispers in the wind under smoky clouds, and tell myself once again, I'ma work it out. So much shit can happen, yo, it got me tripping now. Yeah, it's feeling different now.
I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me working 9 to 5 just to make it out. And now the dark nights got me needing mouth to mouth. Resuscitate my dreams, tell me what it's all about. I wonder if it's worth living now. They told me show a little skin just to make it out. They told me grind until I doubt, till I reach the clouds. Excuse me a little moment while I break out. Never let them take me out.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you.